student made a joke in a class that made me realize, okay, there's something that went wrong in my life. And when we were in class, the teacher was teaching about antisocial behaviors in psychology, and was just like, "Do you know any examples?" And one of the students shouted in the front of the class, like, "Oh, like Aguti Janet is antisocial," because my moods would switch from one thing to another. And I got to realize that through counseling sessions that it's actually one of the coping mechanisms that I used to have to keep myself safe. Seeing the fight anymore. I'm not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I still wake up and I'm like, I need to make this world better for my children. And that is me in a nutshell.
This takes us to the big moment. Yeah, Janet, you actually made the pop.
I did.
So today's episode is a little emotional, sensitive, but above all, inspirational. Imagine walking straight into the Vatican, look the Pope in the eye, and say, "We need to talk." And this wasn't fiction. This was advocacy at its highest level, demanding a zero tolerance to global policy on clergy abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Diary of a Bushman, a space where we strip life down to its essence and a place where we explore what really matters. I am a Tim Rogers. Call me the Bushman, a curious traveler, a student of life, and your host. In today's episode, we are honored to be hosting and sharing with one of my contacts, who is also a mother, a counselor, the executive director of Total Platform, and one of the raising voices fighting sexual violence in Uganda, Africa, and the world at large. Her project has already supported over 1,000 survivors with emergency medical care. They have carried out close to 800 home monitoring visits and led close to 600 community awareness engagements. These numbers prove that this is not just activism, it is impact. Welcome, Janet Aguti.
Thank you very much.
Janet, welcome again to the Diary of a Bushman podcast. But before we dive in, how are you feeling today that you're about to relive one of the most extraordinary moments in your advocacy journey?
So I'm excited really to share my experiences because this is not on a sad note like I usually do or I'm known for, but it's one of the historic moments that I'll never forget in my entire life, and that I hope that one day, as my kids are older, they're going to tell their own children that your grandmother met the Pope. So, yes, it's an exciting moment.
Yeah, I'm also really excited for this moment because I think you're the first person who has met the Pope that I'm having a chance to talk to on a one-on-one. So it also fills me with a lot of joy, and I believe that it will be a great engagement today. Yeah, more on a personal basis. You have become a strong voice for survivors of sexual violence. For listeners meeting you for the first time, who is Janet beyond activism?
Well, I'm an ordinary person. I'm a mother of two, a proud mother of two beautiful souls. Uh, I would say my kids are the reasons as to why I still keep fighting. Even times where I want to give up, times where I'm not seeing the fight anymore. I'm not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I still wake up and I'm like, I need to make this world better for my children. and that is me in a nutshell. Um, I'm a proud Ugandan girl,
Okay.
uh, but most of all, I would say I'm a survivor of childhood sexual violence, and that is an identity that I wear with so much pride.
Ah,
I'm a Christian, and I will. Why I say I'm a Christian is because the Bible teaches us that you're not given a cross that you cannot carry, and I feel like my then dilemma, my then pain, was for a purpose. And as we all know, it's to glorify God in the end of it all. So, yes, I identify myself as a survivor and a mother of two.
that's really interesting that you mentioned something that you can never uh, carry how do you say the one for the Bible whereby you can always
You can't be given a cross that you cannot
you cannot
carry.
carry. Yeah, we also have this saying uh, in the wildlife whereby you say that the elephant, however big the tasks are, can never fail to carry its own tasks. So these are your tasks now, and you're proud to be carrying them. That's
At this
interesting.
moment, yes.
Yeah, at this moment, yes. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But can you share with us what first pushed you into this fight against sexual violence? Was there a moment that changed everything for you?
Um, Allow me share back as to why I even started the fight against sexual violence. Allow me share my story if that is
Please.
okay. So, at a very young age, at 8, I was sexually abused by a very close family member. And one thing I remember during that time was how he assured me that if I told anybody, I was going to be punished. And for me at that time, one thing that I hated the most in my whole life was being beaten. And he knew the gravity of this and how much it holds on me. And so growing up now, I realized he used that to shut me down. And even if it wasn't the threat that he made, I knew deep down in my soul that what had happened was not a good thing. Yeah. And I ideally got ashamed. My time being 8-year old, I'm a millennial now, we didn't have much exposure, or sexual reproductive health wasn't a topic that was ever brought up. So even as it was happening, there was a lot of shame that came to me because my heart knew that whatever is happening is not right. And I didn't have the courage to share. So his threats just sealed the bottle for me. So I kept that to myself for over 17 years. And I struggled through it all. And during one of my university studies, it affected my life, basically, also education, my social life. And during one of my course in university, one student made a joke in a class that made me realize, okay, there's something that went wrong in my life. And when we were in class, the teacher was teaching about antisocial behaviors in psychology, and was just like, "Do you know any examples?" And one of the students shouted in the front of the class, like, "Oh, like Aguti Janet is antisocial," because my moods would switch from one thing to another. And I got to realize that through counseling sessions that it's actually one of the coping mechanisms that I used to have to keep myself safe. And that is how my social life was always affected. And shortly after 17 years, I shared with my then boyfriend who got me help. But in the sharing with him, I expected a breakup, I expected a distance.
Mhm.
But the way he received me at the time was something, a feeling that I can never explain. It is a feeling that I don't think I've ever felt in my life or that I may feel again. It
Can you put
came
it in
like
words?
it came like a one-time thing,
Okay.
and I felt safe. I never felt that before my whole life. And then he connected me. Of course, I got help, and most of my counseling, all my counseling sessions were online, Skype by then, and that encouraged me to open up because the person I was talking to, I knew we will never meet. We will never get a chance to face meet, and she would never, even if she shared my story to a million other people out there. She was in the US, I'm in Uganda. What are the chances, you know? So that also, the distance and the anonymity that I felt at that time encouraged me to speak my whole heart out. And during one of the sessions is when she asks me, because I was beating myself down, like, why did it happen to me? I was so young, I was vulnerable. Why did he choose me? And then she's like, how many people do you think go through this? In Uganda alone,
Yeah.
how
That's what
many
I mean.
people do you think go through this? And this, she didn't ask me in terms of go do research, do what. She was just trying to do counseling to make me realize that I'm not alone. Many people go through this on a daily. Don't beat yourself up. Don't blame yourself. And so I sat down and started doing research. And in my
Okay.
research, I discovered a number of cases that never come up. And I was one of those statistics that you can never find recorded anywhere. And such people were also in pain. And so I kept on discussing with her. I was like, I want to start something that would help people
Mhm.
like me. And so we went from counseling, and then she became my mentor. And
Okay.
that is the genesis of Totia, basically.
Yeah, that's interesting because you mentioned Totia and you mentioned uh, being anonymous, and you mentioned about the statistics about sexual violence that are taking place, and you being one of them. Yeah, I realized that you lead the Totia platform, and it's a powerful movement fighting sexual violence. Uh, for the listeners, what is Totia's mission, and what specific gaps are you trying to fill in your community and in the world at large?
Um, Totia is an organization that supports survivors of sexual violence to access majorly anonymous psychosocial support.
Okay.
With a lot of stigma, self-blame, societal negative association to being a victim of sexual violence, most especially for a girl, especially those who are 14 years and above, is different from a person who is below 14, and is also different from a person who is slightly above or who has been forcefully raped.
Okay.
So Totia is there as a sister, but anonymously. So we use
Okay.
our mobile phones, and they get to experience what I experienced during my counseling sessions, to share without holding back or without fear of judgment. And they do this without exposing their numbers. They do this without their IDs coming up. And however, in the due process, we got to discover more challenges because we are working in rural communities, that there is also need for emergency medical care. And healing goes a long way. It's not only
Yeah.
mental, but also physical,
Physical.
spiritual, and economical. And
Okay.
so we designed our programs in three phases, that is prevention, healing, and justice. And so we go into the communities preaching about the different forms of sexual violence, and also we provide emergency medical care on top of our psychosocial support, and involve the families as well into the counseling sessions, because violence doesn't only affect the one person who has physically been hurt, but the
Okay.
people surrounding them as well. So we also encourage the families to join the counseling sessions in a
That's
nutshell.
very interesting. That's very interesting and powerful. And maybe for people who don't know the meaning of totia, because we hear totia, 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 and we at least you've mentioned what you do and your mission and how you do it. But does this word totia, does it have a meaning? Does it mean anything?
Yes, so totia is a local word that means don't be afraid.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
It means don't be afraid.
It means don't be afraid, open up, and break the silence around sexual violence. So,
Okay.
and it came up because I was in a community that speaks the local language. And
Mm-hmm.
when we tried to find names, what holds people back and stuff like that, we understood that fear was one of the main factors. So we decided to go by naming the organization an encouraging word
Not
towards
to fear.
breaking the silence.
Ah, that's interesting. And that is from the name is from Uganda.
The name is Uganda, and in the central region, the
Okay,
tribe is Luganda.
from the Uganda. Yeah,
Yes.
because you mentioned Uganda, that's interesting. Because Uganda reports thousands of sexual violence cases annually, and globally, uh, 1 in 3 women experience physical or sexual abuse in their lifetime. From your experience, what do these numbers fail to capture?
These numbers fail to capture people like I who are not recorded. What
Okay.
do I mean by this? Statistics alone show us the gravity of the situation,
Mhm.
but it does not bring the human stories behind. You get what I
Yeah,
mean?
tell us more about
So,
that.
yes, what I mean by this is that when you go to the police right now, they'll give you the numbers that you've just mentioned, over 1,000 cases of sexual violence, but there are twice or thrice more the number of cases that have not been reported. And this is due to a number of factors. Now, us working in the communities, and my story alone is a testament that some of the statistics might not, when it comes to sensitive topics like sexual violence in sensitive communities, might not be fully representing the gravity of the situation. I'm not saying that statistics are wrong. I'm
Okay.
not saying that we should not go by it. It is a guide to determine what is happening in the communities.
But you believe that it doesn't capture the real reality on ground. You think it's worse than the
I
statistics.
believe it's a little more than that because a number of cases are never reflecting or recorded anywhere. And when they say 1 in 3 girls has been sexually abused in any form, physical or sexual, there are even those that are abused several times in their lifetime. And some of those cases never come up. And then when you are in a situation, this I discovered during our process of working in Totia, girls, like I said earlier, girls who are above 14 are then even blamed more, even by somebody who is meant to help them. Like I go to
Really?
police and then I report like I was sexually abused. I was maybe I went to my boyfriend's home and then he sexually abused me. Then they're like, why did you go to his home?
Yeah, because it's a tricky situation. You're like, when you talk about your boyfriend abusing you, your husband abusing you, uh, first of all, it brings in these challenges whereby you're like, okay, you're mentioning your husband, you're mentioning your boyfriend, and then you're saying they abused you. It's really hard to digest.
I understand that. And I really get it. It becomes confusing. But abuse is abuse no matter who has done it.
That's the
So
challenge.
paying attention to only the abuse that has happened by a stranger is leaving out the abuse that is happening by people who are so close to us and trusted by us or are meant to protect us.
Wow, that's eye opening for sure. Because
Yes,
sometimes we believe that sexual abuse, we think about things like rape or defilement or something that happens to you from a stranger. But now you're even mentioning that, if I get you well, that even your own partner can sexually harass you.
yes, and it's a sad reality, and majority of these cases don't come up.
Yeah, because I'm sure if you say it like that, then it's more than a lot that don't come out.
Yes,
Some people just take it they just go silent, or some people just be like, okay, it's my partner. It will look really weird if I'm
exactly.
putting my partner for for sexually harassing me, and where does it leave the relationship at the end of the day?
Also, that being a point as well, it also brings to light the fact that some of us don't even realize that what is happening to us could be abuse. When we were doing our community awarenesses and engagements in our prevention programs, you would hear questions that pop up and you realize, okay, this person has been abused but was not aware that this is abuse. So now those are the numbers that are not captured in the statistics. Those are the
That's scary.
missing points in the statistics. That is why when it comes to lived experience as well, taking part in initiatives to stop sexual violence, or even practitioners themselves like teachers, advocates, or even uh, counselors like torture people participating in offering data about sexual violence combined together can give you a bigger picture of exactly what is happening in communities. Cases
Wow.
related to family sexual abuse, what we call intrafamilial abuse, are highly not going to be reported and are highly not going to be recorded in the data systems because there is shame attached to it. You're like,
Yeah.
how do I report my father? And if you go ahead and tell a trusted person, they'll be like, please don't share. This is so ashaming. You're going to bring shame upon yourself, but it's not about the perpetrator anymore.
So
So
somehow
you
the perpetrator is protected through this guise
and
of
then
bringing shame and
they continue abusing, and then you realize that a girl has been abused since she was 8
oh
until the age of 18, and then it becomes a normal, this I'm putting in painful quotes, a normal part of their life. And then how are you going to tell such a person that you were sexually abused? Because it has become normal. And
yeah.
most cases, they'll even be like, but my mother knew about it.
Okay, that's even more scary.
So how are you going to record that in the statistics? Or how do you even record that in the statistics? How do you display that a person has been abused literally for 5 consecutive years, almost every night?
Oh, that's so heavy to digest.
I'm
It's really
sorry.
heavy to digest.
But that
Yeah,
is the
and
reality.
yeah, that's the reality. Sad is the reality. Hmm? And you mentioned about working with survivors of sexual violence. And what does supporting a survivor truly looks like beyond the legal processes and the statistics? How does it look like
Listening.
listening to the survivor?
All we need is somebody who can listen and believe us at face value.
Okay, just like your story was. So
It is a feeling I don't think I can relate that I've ever felt my whole life. And that is what Totia longs to give to the survivors. We do not ask questions of what were you doing?
wow,
How were you dressed? Why
because
did you?
these are
We
the
don't.
questions. This would be like the obvious questions a person like me would ask to a sexual violence survivor. I want
And
to
if
know what was the circumstances that led to that. And
and
you're
that
saying that
is
you guys don't ask that.
and that is one of the things that you might be doing it in a way that you want to help them.
Okay.
But knowing the story, unless you are a person that is going to offer legal support, you don't need to know. And it also depends on the tone of how you're asking. I might
Yeah.
be asking you as your lawyer, like, okay, narrate to me so that I can bring it out to the court.
Okay.
But as a medical personnel, you don't need to know.
I
Just know
thought
that
you
I
need to
was
know to.
abused and believe me for what I tell you and
Okay.
offer me the support that you are expert in offering
Okay.
and connect me to whoever you think is going to. Healing starts from your mind.
Okay.
So if I talk to you and I feel like you're listening to me and the judgment is not there, that is a beginning that is 50% or even more towards
because
my healing journey.
like you mentioned, the biggest issue was people fearing to open up. So when you have that space where someone can open up, you believe that is the biggest first step to the healing process.
To me, that is my belief. And that is what I've witnessed in 6, 7 years of working in this field.
That's interesting to know. So probably listeners of this podcast would take into consideration to look for that space where they can always open up, and probably they will start the healing process from there.
Yes.
But going on to the global stage, I realize that you are part of the End the Clergy Abuse. Is this true?
Yes.
It's
Um,
true.
yes, it is.
Because, and how did your local activism connect you to a movement with members in over 30 countries? I was reading about this network of End the Clergy Abuse, and it's a big thing. It's a really big thing, and I was really interested how, because you said you operate in Uganda in the communities, and I'm wondering how your work acting locally brought you to this global stage.
I will start by saying that um, on a sad note, that when you Google organizations that are dedicated or solely supporting survivors of sexual violence, it is rare that you're going to find even 5 of them listed on Google in Uganda. Why? Because sexual violence is a topic that is hidden under gender-based violence, and
Hmm.
it's loosely attached into social justice and all that. And so when you even call organizations or helplines that are meant to support, majority of the cases they hear are of physical abuse, child neglect, and rarely do they handle cases of child sexual violence or sexual violence in general. So, as they were looking for networks in Africa, they Googled organizations that help victims of sexual violence,
Okay.
specifically sexual
Specifically.
violence.
Okay.
And Totia came up, and so they reached out to me. They're like, "What do you do?"
Okay.
Because sexual violence in Africa, in Uganda, in Mpiji district, a very traditional uh, rural urban community. How? How much community backlash do you face? So I was like, we actually don't face any community backlash. It's how you enter into the community
Yeah.
and how you talk about the issue that determines if you're going to be well received or not. If you come into my house and attack me, you're
Of
not
course.
going to
Yeah.
be well received.
Yeah.
So I started talking about how we are doing it, and the community is welcoming and the community is receiving us and understanding the gravity of the situation without feeling attacked or blamed. Then they were like, we want to know the model that you used. So I slowly started participating in their gatherings, in their protests, and understanding also that clergy abuse, as I said, sexual violence happening by people trusted to us, and the community will rarely believe you if you state, is also one of the biggest statistics that you may never even find.
That's interesting. So, Janet, in the year 2023, you were elected the vice president of the End the Clergy Abuse Board. What responsibilities and realities come with holding such a globally influential role?
Ah, this is a massive question and it's quite interesting. The responsibilities that come with it are basically bringing the realities of clergy abuse as well that is happening in Africa to light,
Okay.
because majority of my global partners have stories that they share. But then when it comes to the African side, and when we used to go for peaceful protests, they will be like, but we've not had any reports from Africa. And then that is when an African comes in and I share the realities that even if we want to bring such out, We can't, because of our cultural barriers, our cultural norms that are attached to shame being brought to the community, being that we know that we are a global dependent of donations and grants, and the Catholic Church has supported many African communities to set up. So, how are you going to bite the hand that feeds you?
Feeds you.
And
Yeah.
so, just like sexual violence happening in families, it is hard to talk about it when it happens by a person of trust and power. And in most cases, the community shuns whoever is reporting or bringing the realities. And so you don't get to hear enough or even see enough stories happening in Africa, but they are there as well.
Yeah, that's interesting because I realize that this end the clergy abuse is fighting for a universal zero tolerance policy in the Catholic Church. Why is this policy non-negotiable?
It is non negotiable because like I said, people of trust once abuse is committed under their power or under their noses, it breaks even beyond an ordinary person.
Okay.
If your father sexually abuses you, it breaks a lot more as compared to an external person committing the
Okay.
abuse. A priest, a person, or a clergy, man or woman, once has, if they commit abuse, it's not only breaking you from your faith, it's making you doubt a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so it breaks the person even beyond. And so the zero tolerance is not an attack to the church, it is actually pro church. Let's
Okay.
eliminate the few that are causing so much trouble and protect the church and protect people's faith.
Yeah, that's a very sensitive area because as a person who has been going to church or has been witnessing spiritual leaders, they they are held with a very high regard in society. They are held with a very high respect, and that's why it's a very sensitive topic to tackle, and many people will shy away from it, even if they know exactly what's going on.
That is
Because
true.
how do you bring out uh, a a spiritual leader who is leading a congregation of thousands of people and they believe in them, and you are here saying they are actually doing acts of sexual violence? So it's a very sensitive area to tackle. And I think when you talk about the Catholic Church, it becomes really interesting because the Catholic Church is one of the biggest institutes
Yes.
in the world. And because I was reading one of the articles you made about this particular incidents where we went to the Vatican, and you mentioned peaceful protests, letters, interviews, and years of pressure. What was it like fighting to be heard by an institution that has historically silenced survivors?
It wasn't easy. It was met with a lot of pushback,
Okay.
not only from the Vatican, but also from our surroundings, from our
Hmm.
families as well. Like you said, it's a very, very sensitive topic and it has a very big gray area. So you never know how to move and still be a Christian. So I am not against the church and I'm not attacking the church. My voice is to bring reality of the abuse that is being perpetrated by people trusted to lead. So, this alone, like you said, is a very sensitive topic to even bring about. High chances are that even if it's not the Catholic Church, but any religious leader committing abuse to a person, they are 95% chances that if I report such, or even if I share with somebody, I will not be believed. Even if
Yeah.
that person knows me 100%, trusts and believe in me, there is always going to be a huge doubt. So imagine you're facing an institution as powerful as that.
That's really the topic of discussion, because, and I like it that you put the disclaimers that you're not actually against the church, because you can be easily misunderstood that you're actually
Exactly.
attacking the church.
We are not.
That's
Eka
very
is
good.
actually defending the reputation of the church.
Okay.
We are just trying to sweep out the dirt, and that is why the zero tolerance law is non-negotiable, like you said.
Yeah.
It should be non-negotiable. And it is not a point of, but what if the person has not abused? Yes, if the person has not abused, all this can be determined through investigations. That is why we have investigations. That is why
Yeah.
cases are reported and investigated, and then justice comes in. If it comes to light that abuse never happened, this person is not going to be affected. It is after it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that Bushman, who is a priest, has abused.
Abused. Yeah.
After all evidence and all, it's beyond
Yeah.
proof, there is proof, then you are deflocked, you are punished according to the laws that we are trying to bring to the universe. This law is actually has been operational in the US for 23 years now. So we want that to come to other parts of the world as well. One of my colleagues says, why should the kids in the US be safer than the kids in Africa? Like,
When they are all kids at the end of the
they're
day.
all children. So let the law be universal. If I don't want to take priesthood or clergyhood as an ordinary job, but at
Yeah,
the
it's
same
not.
time, also medics, some people are in with the heart and it's not an ordinary job for them. But if a
Yeah.
medical personnel commits an offense in their field, they cannot operate in any part of the world if they have
Okay.
that cross in their, I don't know that the occasion, occupational term to use in this
Mm-hmm.
case. So we
But like
want
on their name on or something
kind
like
of,
that. Yeah.
yes, kind of the same. You know, if a priest has abused and found out to have really committed the crime, they should not be in service. Why are you exposing a lion to more prey?
Yeah. Tomorrow prayer. That's interesting. And I think this takes us to the big moment. Yeah. Janet, you actually met the Pope.
I did.
Okay. I don't know how to feel, because first I'm really excited that you met the Pope, and I'm really curious because people like me who have not met the Pope, we see things in a different way. We still look at the Pope as like the holy of the holies, and this space is always considered with very high status. And let's go there a little bit. Hmm? So you walked into the Apostolic Palace at the Vatican. Janet, I'm jealous of you.
I'm jealous of myself as well.
Hmm? But what was the first thing that you felt when you stepped inside?
Oh,
Just take us through this moment.
I was nervous even when I found out that we were going to have the meeting. Even before flying to Rome, I was
You
nervous.
should be.
And just like you said, the Pope is the holy of the holies, and he represents a lot
Yeah.
to us, to the world. And so, oh, I was wondering why an ordinary Ugandan is going to meet the Pope. I started doubting myself a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but when I walked in, I was still nervous. I was not sure what is going to meet us behind there. Just like we have these beliefs, you go in with a belief or an expectation of somebody like the Pope. It is massive.
It is.
Yeah.
It is definitely
So,
massive.
yeah. So I was very, very nervous, to be honest. I walked in, and even when I sat down, I was still nervous.
Okay, you're nervous all the way.
I was nervous the whole time until he spoke. And
Ah,
then I
okay.
was like, okay.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I was reading through some of your social media sharings that you put across your different platforms, and you shared that the Pope even joked about being in office for 5 months and 16 days. That
Yeah.
how did that small moment of humanity shift the energy in the room, uh, for you personally, when the Pope like brought in this humanity side of him? How was it? How did it bring the energy to a different level?
Yes, that shifted things for me completely. That is when I
Okay.
knew that, okay, yes, he's the Pope. Yes, he holds such high levels. He has a
Hmm.
lot of responsibility. He has a lot sitting on his shoulders. But at the same time, he's human and he's
Okay.
willing and he has welcomed us and listened to us. And I think he kind of registered the nervousness that was across all my partners'
Okay.
faces. And so when he made that joke and we laughed and he laughed, I was
Oh.
like, okay, he's human, you know?
So,
He's human.
so that
And
broke all
so,
the ice in the room.
yes, I think when he noticed the nervousness and he said that, we settled. We were like,
Okay.
ah, yeah, it is a safe space to speak.
Ah, okay. And you said you were not there as a celebrity. It was not like a celebrity moment,
No.
but as a survivor walking into um, centuries of silence. What does the sentiment mean to you?
Well, at first, when I heard about the meeting, I was
Okay.
like, okay, I'm going to meet a celebrity. I'm
So
going
you're
to,
looking at the Pope as a what is a
yes.
celebrity?
Oh, he is a celebrity. I'm not going
Yeah.
to downplay it, but at the same time, you know, when you meet somebody of such high regard, you
Hmm.
don't even know how to express what you've always
Yeah.
wanted to express. The words completely disappear, and you're like,
Hmm.
will he even listen to me? Will I even be making sense? Or what I'm even bringing, is it big enough for his office? You know, is it something that he will pay attention to? But at the same time, you think about the situation and you're like, yes, it is time. We've been peacefully protesting, we've been pushed away, we've not been listened to. Communities are fighting us, like, you're against the church, you're doing this and that. Even people of our in our families, we are so nervous and hesitant to even associate with us in case of anything, which I
Yeah.
completely understand. But him opening up and sharing that joke kind of grounded me to be
Hmm.
like, okay, he is someone who is willing to listen. And based on the histories or the reports that we've been reading, he has also been working some in line with this situation of
Ah, okay.
child abuse.
That's even
So
more
it made it
interesting.
even easier to speak to him. And he was relating not as a survivor, but as somebody who has worked with survivors. So
Okay.
he was understanding and he was fully present when we speak. He would lean in to somebody who is speaking. You would see his physical engagement. And so it
Wow.
eliminated the celebrity famous status and
Hmm.
made him more human and speaking to somebody, you're speaking to somebody who is listening to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you still following your social media engagements. You told the Pope directly that Your Holiness, we don't just want sympathy, we want a system. How did he respond in that moment?
Oh, like I said, as he's moving in to listen, I speak softly, and when I'm nervous, even my voice goes. But
That's
at
the
that
human part
time,
of you.
he pushed in, and he's like, "I hear you.
Okay.
We want the same,"
Okay.
and
So
that
the
alone,
idea was already there already.
the idea was already there. Like I said, if you read before he became pope, the kind of work he has been doing,
Hmm.
the cases he has been resolving in his communities are closely similar. Even some are related to sexual violence. So, yeah,
Wow. For sure. That's really interesting to know that the Pope and his former works are also in line with some of the works you're doing. I think it shows the relation and the direction at which even the top leaders or the institutional leaders, that they also realize the challenge
yes,
and they also look for ways of of bringing it out to the public and trying to push for these kind of agendas.
Yes,
Because at the end of the day, sexual violence affects everyone.
it does.
It affects everyone. Wow. So you pushed for the harsh truth, the global reality for the clergy abuse, because this is really sad, and it's really sad to hear that some spiritual leaders, some clergy, are actually, instead of guiding the people they lead, some are turning into predators onto the people they lead. It is really a sad reality, and the Catholic, because the Catholic Church alone affects like 1.5 billion people, and this is worldwide. And you said something powerful, that every time the church transfers a predator, instead of removing him, it transfers trauma. Can you unpack the global consequences of moving abusive clergy to developing countries? Maybe first break to us. How does it? How has it been happening?
I don't think I'm an expert to explain how it has been happening,
Okay.
but when you hear cases of clergy abuse, if you read uh, about them on the paper, you realize that priests, like for instance, one that was transferred to Kenya and committed atrocities as well, had already previous cases in
Okay.
the countries they were in. So I believe that transfers are made as a way of punishing them. Like, okay, now let's just
Yeah.
take you to the most remote areas in Africa because they're really brought to remote areas. And I'm thinking it's meant as a punishment to them so that they don't bring shame on me.
Go on.
Yeah, but then it is exposing another set of people to abuse. And with our culture, where you don't just blurt or speak out things, most especially sexual reproductive health, it becomes even more challenging to report such a situation.
Yeah.
So it makes it worse for us that we are not going to report and we are going to live with this because this person is benefiting a larger community.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you start even valuing, even if you report to your family member, I'm assuming now it's a child who is saying, oh, so and so did this to me. Then you, as a family member, you're like, but if we report, how is the community going to react to this? We are going to be discriminated or segregated by the community. Let's keep this. Please don't
Yeah.
share this. You cannot go around speaking that. You make sure you shame this person to the point that they cannot speak about it to the next person. You know? So this is how then abuse is silenced, even by our close family members or the trusted people that you share, the first people you share with. And this abuse then is exposed to a lot of people in the congregation. So it's not only happening to you.
Yeah.
I would argue you to read more stories of sexual violence and clergy abuse in Africa, and you will see that it does not only happen to one person at a time. It
It's
happens to
sad.
many, even maybe in one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's sad because coming from Africa myself, uh, I see how the communities respond to the spiritual leaders. Like we hold them with very, very high regard. And
Yes.
sometimes we are willing to sacrifice anything
We
for
do
the
sacrifice anything.
for the for the respect, or to maintain the holiness of this holy person. And that's why this is a very, very sensitive area to tackle. It's a very,
Yes.
very sensitive area to tackle. But something came to my mind that was really challenging. That does the geography determine the level of justice, and why must that change?
Geography should not determine the level of justice, to be honest.
But does it, um, the status quo, does it, has it been an influential factor?
I believe so. I don't
Okay.
have full evidence or statistics or proof of it. But ideally, if you see the patterns, I
Yeah.
believe it is a factor in play. When an abuser has been transferred, they're not transferred to urban settings, they are transferred to rural, hidden settings. So, yes,
Okay.
geography does play a role.
And that's a sad reality because you realize that, like we said, at the end of the day, abuse is abuse, whether to the rural community people or to the urban center people. Abuse is abuse at the end of the day.
Yes, it is.
So let's talk about hope because as not a platform as yourself, you're pushing for this agenda of bringing back hope to what would be the hopeless. You have even said that hope for you isn't blind, it's bold, it demands. What does bold hope look like for you in the world today?
Um, Bold hope for me looks like I play my part in the social injustice that I see, and then I leave the rest to the communities or the societies to determine where it goes. I've done
Okay.
my part, so others
So for
can as
you, it's
well.
more of playing your part and leaving the rest to the
Yes,
community.
not just sitting back and watching it and waiting for someone to take initiative. But if I
Okay.
play my part, I believe whoever takes over will also play their part, and it's a trickle effect.
So they encourage everyone to play their part in their own capacities.
Exactly.
That's powerful. That's powerful over there. Yeah. And did the meeting shift your belief in the church's ability to reform even slightly?
Yes.
So meet. Okay. Please take
I
us
would
through that.
I would not say only the meeting shifted that, but the patterns were shifting even before. You know,
Okay.
as I said before, we were being shunned, we were not being denied entrance to other places, but we started working closely with them. And when we entered into, we then started to see the efforts that people have been putting in place to stop clergy abuse, even the people in the systems themselves. But the only missing link were us, the survivors, us with the
Okay.
lived experiences, because we could pinpoint exactly the patterns of abuse and how you could potentially prevent it from happening.
That's
So,
really interesting.
yes, there was already a movement, there was already a shift even before us forming ECHA or even before us meeting the Pope.
Wow.
Yes.
But when you left the Vatican, I'm really curious. What was the first thought that crossed your mind? Was it relief? Was it fear? Was it determination? What was it that was crossing your mind when you left?
I was very hopeful.
Okay.
I was very hopeful. I would say all my colleagues who took part in the meeting were very hopeful. We went back. Ideally, when we go to Rome, we would go do whatever we do, but we still had a weight, you know.
Okay.
We would go back into the debrief meetings and talk about it. Now, what is the next step? Blah, blah, blah. With this meeting, we didn't go back and do all that. We
Really?
went back and celebrated because
Oh,
ideally, we first of all didn't expect such an audience. We expected to meet a celebrity at a high status level and someone who is just going to sit on his throne and be like, okay, next, this has also happened, now next. But this is somebody who engaged us.
oh, wow.
It was beyond what we expected, ideally. So
Wow.
it brought a lot of hope to me. And I was like, okay, we've laid a foundation,
For sure.
and that is enough.
You've
This
played
is
your part. At least
this
you've.
is a success no matter what. So we
Yeah.
went back, we celebrated.
Yeah,
We
because they
celebrated.
always say that even a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
Yeah.
So
For
this
us,
should be the step.
this was a historic moment. It is the first time ever in history that a pope is meeting survivors of clergy sexual abuse or of
Wow.
abuse in general, a group, not only individuals going for a group that is
This
working
is
to
powerful.
fight and restore justice.
This is really powerful.
Yeah.
But just to go a little bit personal with you, because advocacy for sexual violence can be emotionally heavy. But how do you take care of yourself amidst this kind of heavy work?
I have a loving and supporting husband.
Oh wow. Maybe give us some tips.
I have a loving and supporting husband. I have a loving and supportive sister who I share with every day. And I also still go for counseling.
Okay.
Whenever I feel the weight of it, I allow myself to go through it and then
Oh wow.
get out of it the next day. If it's a heavy day for me that day and I want to sleep, that is where the support of my family comes in. My husband allows me to sleep. He allows me to do whatever I have told myself that I want to do. So having somebody who is supportive of you, no questions asked, in your healing journey is tremendous.
Wow. Send our greetings to your husband and thank him for us for taking good care of you, because when he takes good care of you, you also do this very strong work that people would share what to do, but
Yeah,
then you tackle the gray areas. And yeah, we really appreciate his efforts.
I do too.
And when you look at the element of now calling the call to action and speaking to the world, for survivors listening who feel invisible and unheard, what would you want to say directly to them on this podcast today?
One, you're not alone. It is not meant as a way of diminishing your feelings, but it's also meant to let you know that, unfortunate as it is, abuse is happening to almost anyone you can imagine. To the people we look up to our celebrities, to the vulnerable communities, to the rich communities, to people in the clergy, to people in sports, to actors and actresses. Unfortunately, it happens. But I just want to let you know you're not alone. And secondly, take your time.
Okay.
If you're not ready to come out and share your story, you're not ready to come out, hold it. Take your time. Don't be rushed by the society, don't be rushed by anything around you. Take your
Wow.
time.
That's powerful over there. And just to because it's at the end of the day, we want to you support the people listening to us, and we also like the people who are out there who like to support your initiatives and your work, to know how they can do that. Yeah. So how can the listeners support your work without your platform and the global movement for zero tolerance to sexual abuse?
Um, First and foremost, we are in a world where AI, technology, internet is taking over. It's a growing technological world.
Okay.
So visit our social media platforms, like, share, follow, leave a comment. It is a lot, even when you do the engagements with us. And also, if you can, please do donate. We are, Totia platform is NGO,
Okay.
so all our resources comes from donations from individual, from well wishers, because we still offer emergency medical care which prevents pregnancy, HIV, and long-term physical effects that would delay and cause long-term trauma to a person. So
Okay.
do donate when you are capable of, and as well follow ECA Global.
Okay.
The links will
I'm
be
not
shared, and just keep engaged.
okay.
Share your experiences if you can, and let us talk about it. Because when you talk, when you name the problem, it somehow disappears.
Great. And that's really interesting. So at least the links will be shared, and the people who are interested and the people who feel moved by you're sharing would for sure reach out and try to support this work, because this affects everyone, and it's everyone's responsibility to reach out and come together and then fight the vice of sexual violence in our communities. And let's talk about a little bit about the legacy, because, like you said, um, this was a historic moment, and for your work, because you've been doing this work for quite a long time. Uh, so you ended your reflection with this dream that the history will say a few survivors, scared but unshaken, met a pope who chose courage over comfort. What do you hope your name will stand for when that history is written?
Just that, exactly the way you said it, is what I hope history will say. A once scared survivor, but still courageous enough to move through the discomforts of handling such a sensitive topic.
That's great. And maybe as we call it a wrap, what does a world without sexual violence look like in your imagination?
Oh, it is a world where children are playing so loudly without a care in the world, without any threats of danger, without looking back on who is coming, without sleeping with one eye open in their own rooms, but children being children, carefree and safe.
Wow.
When you're safe, when you feel safe, you're peaceful and you thrive when you grow. So that is for me the world I expect or I dream of.
That's really interesting. And maybe for uh, just in case something happens and all your work comes to an end today, or God forbid, both me and you die right now, what would be that one message you would like to leave to the world and to the listeners of this podcast today?
God forbid indeed, because I want to see the world where sexual violence is history. But I would say don't sit back and watch injustice unfold before you. We all can play a huge role in avoiding a person from being traumatized for the rest of their lives. So when you see injustice, even as small as someone being uh, bullied for the way they are dressed, and you don't feel comfortable in that situation, speak up. Because whatever makes you uncomfortable, truthfully makes the other uncomfortable. And you might sit back and be like, it's not happening to me, so why should I care? But trust me, you never know. You never know. And if you're in such a position, you'd want someone to speak up for you as well. So do
Definitely.
take initiative. Yeah, we can all do it, no matter our age, our social economic status. You can do it.
Yeah, it can't get any better than this. And I really want to appreciate you, Janet, for your time to speak to us and to speak to the people listening to this podcast. And I believe that the message you've put out there will be taken in good faith. And we believe that at least you've cleared the air about different issues that may turn out to be controversial. But at least you've cleared the air. For instance, the issue about not attacking the church, but attacking the vices in the church. That was really powerful. And I believe that you've shared the links as well, so people can always reach out and follow your work and see what you guys are doing and what you're up to. And yeah, thank you for your time. And for the listeners of this podcast, we say thank you for tuning in till this long, and we hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you and take care. Ciao.
Thank you so much, Bushman. Enjoy.